Hi everyone, it's Nancy at Pig Moon Tarot and happy holidays. We just got snow last night, so that's exciting. It's a winter wonderland right now. So I want to do a VR to Kelly Bear's tag, Tarot Winter Wardrobe. And she's got 7 questions, 7 decks that I'm going to show you. And we start with question 1, which is base layers thermals. Which deck or decks are foundational for your tarot practice and why? Well, for me, that has to be the Deviant Moon. And it's foundational for a couple of reasons. One is that it was really kind of early on. I'd gotten a few tarot decks and I came across this one and it was unique. It had art, it had unusual art beyond Pixie's art. And because to me, tarot collecting, tarot decks are very much about the art, just being able to look through the art and see different perspectives on tarot meanings. So when I got this one, it was like, wow, okay, there's other stuff out there. There's stuff that's not traditional, that's not just a variation on traditional. So for me, for tarot, it added that whole aspect of there's a world of art out there and unusual art and art of different styles. But the other way this deck is foundational for me is that it really does have the traditional meanings. So as I was learning the meanings of the cards, I could tell that was the 10 of Wands, even though the character's odd, the setting's odd, the art is unique, but the art's memorable. So I could see that and associate that take on it. And it was so distinctive that it helped me memorize. It just helped me remember, okay, that card is this. And I think it really does a good job of showing you quite well what the meanings of the cards are. And again, in a very memorable way. You really do this probably, of all the decks I have, might be the one where I can envision each card pretty clearly. They're hard to forget. Hard to forget. That's my clue. Okay, so that was Deviant Moon. That was my foundational deck. The next question from Kelly is an ugly Christmas sweater novelty deck that brings you joy. And that would be the Tarot de Luz, which is a Spanish deck from Fournier. And it's not a novelty deck in that it's not glittery or funky characters or whatever. It's art by an artist, it's not digital and that kind of thing. But it's just got a fun feel to it. And it's not always simple to figure out the association with tarot meanings. It's got a funky slant on things, which is fun. The colors are fun, kind of bright pinks and pastels. And I love Fournier decks because they're a nice small size, and so it's easy to use for me and my small hands. But it's just a fun deck, just fun colors, and so but it is kind of a novelty deck. It's unusual in its take and its art. So that would be my ugly Christmas sweater, and I don't consider it ugly, but it is different. The art is different for sure. Okay, the next category is winter coat, your workhorse deck most used. As I've said before, I don't use tarot. I don't use one deck all the time, or even 3 or 4 decks all the time. One of the things I like about tarot is I pull out a different deck every day. I rotate decks on a regular basis. But there are some decks that I keep on my desk all the time, and I really like to pull out on a regular basis. And I would say at this point in time, The deck I really love most is Dream Vision. And it just came out in this second edition, and even I have the first edition and I love it. When the second edition came out, I had to get it. Uh, and it does some great things for me. It's a smaller card size and kind of taller, smaller tarot card size. The other one was a little wider. And so I like the size better. The gilding is a bright blue. It's so much fun. But the images in this deck, the use of color and the bold graphic style is just so beautiful. Emma did an amazing job on this. And I'm sorry, I have a little glare on the cards, so I'm holding them at a bit of an angle. Two of Cups, two entwined figures here. Very dramatic. I must admit, one of the things she did on this version of it is to do the titles in various locations around the cards. I find them a little harder to read than in the first edition, and I think it helps me since it is sometimes hard for me to read things. I need glasses to know where I'm going to find the title. So for me, that doesn't work quite as well, but I absolutely adore this version of the deck. I adore the size of the cards. It's beautiful cardstock in both editions, and the art is just amazing. We have swords, and Six of Pentacles. It's so bold and clear and bright and dramatic, and I love it. I just love this deck. And so there's the backs. So I don't know if I'd call it a workhorse deck, but it's definitely a deck that I love to pull out. It works for me every time. Just looking at the images, I'm like, oh my God, that's so pretty. That's so beautiful. So that is what I consider a regular deck, a deck I pull out all the time. And that's New Vision. Okay, next category, snow boots. A deep dive deck that you can really sink into. What makes it so interesting? Oh, okay. I was trying to think, what deck did I pick for that? It's right here. All I had to do was glance over. I picked the Tarot of Oneness, which I just got pretty recently. It's a beautiful deck, beautiful box and inside to the box. It has a lovely sort of pink gilding, pink beige-ish gilding, and card backs. So why is this deck a deep dive for me? This deck has the cards presented as if you are in them. This is the Fool ready to jump off the cliff. You are the Fool. These are your feet. So I think it gives you a lot to think about in terms of, what would it feel like to be within that card? What would it feel like to be sitting with some friends with three cups, three friends, and you've got your hand on this cup? And so your perspective is all as if you were in the card. And so for deep diving, path work, anything like that, here's strength with, again, your hand on the bear's face. I just find it gets my mind going about what this card really means. With the knights, you see the shadow of the knight on the landscape as if you were on a horse riding away. So it just makes everything a little more immediate. But also, like I say, it just gets me thinking about it as if I were Temperance. I was stepping into the water, had one foot in the water, and what it means to me. It makes it more personal, I guess. So it makes, to me, deep diving into a deck really fun and interesting. This the Empress. She's holding a baby elephant or cuddling a baby elephant with her trunk, and you're the mama elephant. Hanged Man is you're up in a balloon. You're up in midair. So anyway, this Tarot of Oneness is, I think, a great deep dive deck for me. Now, the next category is kind of the opposite, a deck I'm not really into. And let's see, that is the Hat category, a deck that twists your twists your noggin, or that you struggle to connect with or understand. And there were a couple for this, but I settled on the TYLDWICK Tarot. I know it's pretty. I know it's kind of a collector's item. I'm not getting rid of it, but I find, and it's interesting for some people, I think this is kind of a pathwork stepping into it deck. But I don't know what I'm stepping into except some old mansion or garden, and I don't feel the cards are unique enough to really tell me what the heck's going on here. What's the meaning of this card? It's interesting. It's got interesting imagery. It's got beautiful colors. It's got great cardstock. All of the above. Pretty backs, like an old faded wallpaper look. It's very atmospheric. I just don't really know what's going on there. It's for two reasons. One, I find it kind of hard to see very clearly. There's a lot of muddied colors in there, and like, I guess it's a garden, and I guess there's a wall, and that kind of thing. But it doesn't jump out at you clearly to begin with. And then it doesn't always say anything to me about the meaning of the card. So I know some people adore this, and I appreciate it. I appreciate the work that went into it. I appreciate that it's pretty, but I don't get it. I don't connect with it. So there you go. There's the TYLDWICK. Okay, that was the hat. My hat deck. Scarf. Okay. A hug deck for when you're in need of comfort. Well, my cat is encroaching, and I've got a glass of water there, so I have to be careful. That would be the Marloon Tarot, which comes in this really pretty tin. That's the card backs. And it just has, sorry for the noise, has such a gentle palette, really sweet images, beautiful art, beautiful colors. And so for a comfort deck, this is just so sweet and so simple. And I don't think you could feel a super negative thought about, well, doing a reading with this deck. Even the Hangman is fun. But this Marloon is upside down. Just a gentle deck. And there's our upside down tower. It's not, nobody really is getting hurt there, I don't think. Apparently, I've been using this a lot. Look at the beautiful colors and faces, and yep, Marloon is my comfort deck, my scarf. And finally, the category is mittens. And that's your tarot deck for readings on the go. So a deck you'd take when you travel. I end up with the same deck that Kelly Bear had for this one, the Tarot de Maria Celia. And I've always loved this deck, even before I really knew how to read Marseille or wanted to get into Marseille, I got this little deck in a tin, which makes it easy to travel with. And the colors are so beautiful in this. And the imagery is, although it's emulating the typical Marseille old-fashioned characters, it's got such a soft, well, bright colors, but kind of soft colors at the same time. And it just is a pleasure to look at. So it's one I pull out on a regular basis. And I think if I need to travel, because it's compact, because it pleases me, because it's got an antique-y look. So I think if I ran into someone who wanted a reading, this is probably what they'd expect of a tarot deck. You know, I could make reference to what's going on there and the what's going on in the card. Where, for example, Dream Vision I love, but I'm not sure I could read for someone else with it because the images are so sort of abstract and graphic. I don't have a lot of experience in reading, so I would want something that just felt more traditional, that someone would look at it and say, oh, it's a tarot card, instead of, wow, it's a really cool graphic. So anyway, I just think that this deck is so lovely and so pretty and so portable and such a nice small size that if I could take one on the road with me that I could use in readings, or I could just flip through myself and enjoy the imagery, it would be the Tarot de Maria Celia. Now I also have a portable size, pocket size Nicoletta Ciccoli, which I might grab to go on the road because it's such a fun deck, but it's not as straightforward in the meanings. You really have to kind of try and figure out the meanings, and I think it might freak some people out. It's a kind of a weird deck with sort of scary little girls in it. But anyway, so those are the decks that I chose for Kelly's challenge. And thank you, Kelly, for such a fun challenge. And let me know if you've done a VR to this or what decks you might choose. And there's Jade in the background climbing around. Okay, guys, have a wonderful holiday. Take care. Bye.